He didn't ask for much. Just a small cake. One candle. A quiet moment to feel like every other kid for one day. But instead, he got silent. It was his birthday, and he was standing outside a bakery with nothing in his hands but cold fingers. His mother held on to him, gently, like she was trying to protect him from a world that had already done too much damage. Her coat barely kept the wind out, and her eyes, tired, soft, and sharp all at once, told a story without saying a word. People passed by. No one noticed them. No one ever really did. And inside that warm little bakery, a child laughed as her family sang around a bright cake. The boy watched from outside, no jealousy, no tears, just a kind of stillness that only comes from understanding, too early, what it means to go without. And then something happened. A man, dressed in a dark wool coat, paused just a few feet away. His car waited at the curb, engine still running. He had meetings to get to. People depend on him. A name that meant something in tall buildings with glass walls. But at that moment, he couldn't move. There was something about the boy. The way he stood. The way he looked at that cake like it wasn't food, but possibility. The kind of look he remembered having once, before success, before money, before loneliness dressed itself up as power. He walked into the bakery. Said nothing at first. Then just pointed to everything behind the glass and told the cashier. "Pack it all up." The whole bakery went quiet. The mother gasped. The boy didn't understand. Not yet. But that moment, those 5 words, would change everything. What started as a simple act of kindness would lead to a bond no one saw coming. A second chance. A new beginning. Because sometimes the most important people in your life are the ones you weren't looking for. So before we uncover what happened next, how that one gesture turned into something far deeper, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story like this. Because trust me, what's coming in the next chapter? It'll leave you speechless. Let me tell you about the man in dark wool coat. He had everything most people chase their whole lives. His name was Grayson. CEO. Investor. Boardroom powerhouse. When he walked into a room, people stood straighter. When he spoke, others took notes. His suits were custom. His schedule was full. His signature sat on deals that moved entire markets. On paper, he had it all: power, respect, money that seemed endless. His face was in magazines. His name trended when he made moves. But what people didn't see was what waited when the lights went off. Lucas lived in the kind of penthouse that sat above the clouds. Floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek furniture, silent hallways. The kind of space that looked beautiful in photos and felt cold in real life. At night, he'd stand by the window, staring at the city below. All that noise, all that life, and yet he didn't feel part of it. Not really. There were no birthday messages on his phone. No calls from family. Just a reminder from his assistant that dinner had been reserved at his favorite place, alone again. He sat at a table built for 4. Across from him, an empty chair. He ordered the same thing every year. Steak, glass of red wine, chocolate soufflé for dessert. A nod to a memory he could barely hold on to anymore. The waiters knew not to ask if someone was joining him. They never did. He didn't speak much. He ate slowly. And when dessert came, he just looked at it. A small candle flickering in the center. He didn't blow it out. Didn't make a wish. Just stared. This wasn't new for him. Lucas had spent his childhood in the foster system. Bounced from house to house, birthday to birthday. Some years were better than others. But most of the time, it was just another day, another reminder that no one was coming. He learned early how to keep his emotions quiet. How to be strong. How to take care of himself when no one else would. And it worked. He built something massive from nothing. People respected him. But no one really knew him. He'd mastered the art of building walls so high, even he forgot what was on the other side. Colleagues saw him as focused. Sharp. Someone who didn't waste time. But the truth was, he didn't know how to be close to anyone. He was always too busy, too booked, too guarded. He told himself that emotions were distractions. That the past was the past. But some parts of the past don't stay quiet forever. And Lucas, well, he'd kept his locked up for so long, he stopped believing it had anything left to say. Until that day outside the bakery. And before we step into that moment, the one that would challenge everything Lucas thought he knew about success and connection, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because here's the real question for you. If you had everything money could buy, but still felt completely alone, would you trade it for something real? Let us know in the comments, we're listening. It was a cold afternoon. One of those days where the sky hangs low and the rain doesn't pour. It just lingers. Lucas had just left a meeting across town. He wasn't in a rush. His driver was waiting, but he asked him to pull over near the corner bakery. It wasn't planned. He didn't even know why. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was the silence in the car. Maybe it was just the need to feel something. The bakery wasn't fancy. Just a small shop with fogged-up windows and a doorbell that jingled when you walked in. He'd passed it before, never gone inside. But this time, he stepped out of the car, buttoned his coat, and walked in. The warm smell of bread and sugar hit him right away. It reminded him of something he couldn't quite place. He moved toward the counter, scanning the shelves for coffee. Outside, a boy stood in the rain. Small frame, thin jacket, sneakers soaked through. Next to him, his mother held a plastic bag with what looked like all their belongings. Her coat was torn near the sleeve. She kept glancing at the door, trying to decide whether to go in or walk away. They hesitated, then finally stepped inside. The boy walked straight to the display case. His face lit up, not with excitement, but with wonder, like he'd entered a world he didn't know existed. Cakes of all sizes, frosting in colors he'd only seen in magazines, little candles arranged on top like stars. He stared at one in particular. A small chocolate cake, nothing special, but just enough for one wish. The cashier looked over and gave a polite smile. "Can I help you?" the mother asked softly, how much the cake cost. The woman behind the counter paused. She had seen this before. She stepped forward and gently said, "I'm sorry. We can't give food away." There was no anger, no blame, just the kind of tone people use when they've said no more times than they can count. The mother nodded. "It's okay," she whispered. She turned to leave. But the boy didn't move. He kept looking at the cake. His voice was steady when he finally spoke. "I don't want much," he said. "Just a candle. Just something to say I'm still here." Lucas heard the words. He turned. He saw the boy. He saw the mother. And for a moment, everything around him faded. The rain outside. The chatter. The to-do list in his back pocket. Gone. He walked up to the counter. Looked at the woman behind it. His voice was quiet but clear. "I'll take it all." The cashier blinked. "Sorry. Everything," he said. "Every cake. Every cookie. Box them up." The mother stared at him, confused. "Sir," she started, but he raised his hand gently. "It's taken care of." The boy's eyes widened. His lips parted but no words came out. The cashier moved quickly, unsure what to say. Lucas turned to the boy. "Pick the one you want," he said. "Maybe two." The boy smiled just a little. Not the wide kind that comes with toys or surprises, but the quiet kind. The kind that slips out when something good happens and you're not used to it. He walked to the counter and pointed to the chocolate cake. "That one." Then he looked up at Lucas and added, "You don't look happy." Lucas froze. It wasn't rude. It wasn't even a question. Just a statement. Honest. Direct. Like only a child could say. Lucas didn't respond. He couldn't. The boy thanked him again. The mother stepped forward and whispered, "I don't know what to say. Thank you." He nodded once, then left the store. Rain still falling. Driver still waiting. He sat in the car, staring out the window, heart beating a little faster than usual. He didn't know what just happened. He only knew it wasn't over. And if that moment moved something in you, even just a little, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you can follow this journey to the very end. Because what just happened inside that bakery wasn't just kindness. It was the beginning of a connection that would change everything. Here's a question for you. Have you ever had a split-second moment, one small choice, that ended up changing your entire path? Let us know in the comments. Your story might be the one someone else needs to hear. It had been a few days since the bakery. Lucas tried to forget about it. Tried to go back to his usual routine, morning briefings, calls that stretched into the night, empty dinners with expensive views. But he couldn't stop thinking about the boy's words. "You don't look happy." It echoed in his head at the strangest times, during meetings, in elevators, when he passed other kids on the street. There was something about the way the boy said it. Honest. Unfiltered. Like he saw something others didn't. One evening, on his way back from a late client dinner, Lucas asked the driver to take a different route. He didn't give a reason. Just asked. A few blocks from the bakery, they passed a small public shelter. People huddled together near the entrance, waiting for a spot inside. And then, near the side of the building, he saw them. The same mother. The same boy. Sitting on a bench. She held a book in her lap. The boy had a small flashlight, using it to read. Lucas told the driver to stop. He stepped out of the car slowly. The boy noticed him first. "Hey, it's you," he said with a smile, like he'd just seen someone he recognized from a story. The mother stood up quickly, unsure of what to say. Lucas kept his distance, careful not to crowd them. "I was just passing by," he said quietly. "Thought I'd see how you two were doing." The mother nodded, cautious. "We're okay," she replied, not quite meeting his eyes. He offered them dinner. She declined. He offered them a ride. She shook her head again. Her tone was polite but firm. There was pride there. And fear too. The kind of fear that comes from people who've been promised help before and left worse than they were. Lucas didn't press. Instead, he sat on the edge of the bench, a few feet away. The boy showed him what he was reading. It wasn't a picture book. It was a used physics textbook, the kind most college students struggle through. It had notes scribbled in the margins, half the cover torn off. Lucas asked where he got it. The boy shrugged. "Library throws old ones out sometimes. I like the way stuff works. I take things apart when I find M." He pulled a folded paper from his backpack. It was a drawing. Something he'd made part sketch, part design. A model of a wind-powered battery charger built from soda cans and broken fan parts. Lucas studied it carefully. It wasn't just impressive. It was smart. Really smart. The kind of thinking that didn't come from privilege, but from raw, untaught talent. His chest tightened. Something about the boy, his curiosity, his focus, the way his mind worked, it reminded Lucas of someone. Himself. He remembered being 10 years old, sitting in the corner of a group home with a broken calculator in one hand and a screwdriver in the other. No one noticed him back then. No one asked what he was building or why he cared. He remembered nights spent under flickering lights, drawing up circuits in old notebooks, teaching himself what no one else would. He had been a kid with a loud mind and no place to put it. And now, here he was, watching another version of that same story play out. But something stopped him. He wanted to help. Badly. But he didn't know how to do it without making it feel like charity. Without making it about guilt or control. Part of him wondered if he even deserved this connection. He wasn't good at closeness. Wasn't built for it anymore. He knew how to make money, how to negotiate, how to win. But sitting beside this boy, who was full of ideas and hope, and a mother who'd done everything to protect what little they had, he felt small. And unsure. He gave them a warm meal that night. Quiet conversation. Nothing too much. Just enough. He left them with his card scribbled with a note. "If you ever need anything." But even as he walked back to his car, he knew it wasn't enough. Something had changed. Something deep. He wasn't just passing by anymore. Have you ever met someone who reminded you of a version of yourself you'd long forgotten? Someone who, without even knowing it, made you pause and question what really matters? Let us know in the comments. And if this story is tugging at your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next, because the next chapter will show just how far one connection can reach. The offer came in just before sunrise. A call from London. A new expansion. A seat at the table with global partners. It was the kind of opportunity most executives wait their whole career for. Lucas had earned it. He was their top pick. They wanted him to relocate full-time. New office. New team. New life. The contract was clean. Big numbers. Bigger power. He just had to say yes. And for most of his life, he would have. He always chose the next level. The next win. The next door that led further away from where he started. But this time, there was something else pulling at him. A quiet resistance. Something new. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he found himself driving across town. Again. No plan. Just instinct. He parked near the shelter, sat in the car, and waited. Minutes passed. Then he saw them. The mother and the boy, walking toward the nearby library, backpacks slung over their shoulders. Normal quiet, like a routine had formed. He followed at a distance, keeping out of sight. Later that evening, he met them outside the shelter. He told her about the offer, about the chance to go overseas. She nodded, but her eyes dropped. "That's good for you," she said. Then she smiled, small but guarded. "You should go." He looked at her, confused. "It's not that simple," he said. But she was already stepping back, emotionally. Her voice lowered. "Lucas, you've been kind. More than kind. But maybe this was just meant to be a moment. Not forever." He didn't answer. Couldn't. She looked at him, really looked at him. Her tone changed. Soft but firm. "You saved us. You stepped in when no one else did. And I'm grateful. But I need to ask you something. Not as someone you helped. As someone standing right in front of you." Her eyes locked with his. "Are you ready to love someone back?" He felt it in his chest. That question. It hit deeper than any deal he'd ever negotiated. He had no script for this. No charts. No strategy. Just a truth he hadn't faced. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for pity. She was asking if he was capable of staying. That night he went home. Sat in the middle of his penthouse, surrounded by quiet. The lights from the city didn't comfort him anymore. The space felt too big. The silence too loud. He thought of the boy's drawings. Of his questions. Of the way he leaned in when Lucas spoke, as if his words mattered. He thought of all the birthdays he had missed as a child. The ones no one showed up for. And he realized he couldn't walk away from this. The next morning, he returned to the shelter. He waited until the boy and his mother came out. No suits. No briefcase. Just him. Real. Present. He looked her in the eye. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "If you'll let me, I'd like to adopt him. I want to do this the right way." She stared at him, stunned. Her hand covered her mouth. She didn't speak at first. The boy stepped forward slowly. "Does that mean you're staying?" Lucas nodded. "Yeah, I'm staying." There were no speeches. No dramatic tears. Just a shared understanding. A beginning. For the first time in a long time, Lucas felt something solid in his chest. Something that felt like home. He wasn't saving them anymore. He was choosing them. And in doing so, he finally chose himself. Have you ever had to choose between the life you built and the one that could finally make you feel whole? Would you walk away from everything you thought you wanted for someone who finally made you feel seen? Let us know in the comments. And if this chapter moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because what comes next is a reminder that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's a choice. They didn't move in that night. It took a few days. Paperwork. Conversations. Quiet moments of trust building slowly, like bricks stacking one by one. Lucas had offered them a place to stay. Just until things stabilized. But it wasn't just a place, it was his place. That same penthouse that once echoed with nothing but silence was now filled with life. The boy's laughter bounced down the marble hallway. There were shoes by the door that didn't belong to Lucas. A cereal box left open on the kitchen counter. The scent of homemade meals. The quiet hum of belonging. The mother tried to do more than her share. Laundry, dishes, folding blankets that didn't need folding. Lucas kept telling her, "You don't owe me anything." She always answered the same way. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because I can." The boy settled into school like a seed finally given sunlight. Lucas enrolled him in one of the best STEM-focused academies in the city. At first, the boy struggled to fit in. He didn't talk much, didn't always raise his hand. But the teachers noticed something quickly. He didn't just memorize. He understood. He asked questions that opened new conversations. He finished projects early, then stayed late to help others. Lucas went to every parent-teacher meeting, every science fair, every robotics showcase. Quiet in the back, but always there. Years passed. Not many, but enough. Enough for the boy to rise to the top of his class. Enough for the mother to find her footing again, working part-time, then full. Enough for Lucas to realize that this was the legacy he'd never planned for, but had always needed. Then came graduation day. The room was full. Parents, teachers, students, all seated, waiting. The stage wasn't grand, just a small platform with a simple podium at the center. A banner hung overhead, Annual Future Leaders Scholarship Ceremony. At the front row, Lucas sat in a tailored navy suit, hands folded in his lap. Not out of formality, but to stop them from shaking. Next to him, the boy's mother. Her dress was modest. Her smile full. The kind that held memories of nights in shelters, mornings without breakfast, and 1,000 moments where she thought this day would never come. The boy walked onto the stage slowly, wearing a school uniform with a patch that read "Excellence Through Character." His shoes were polished. His tie slightly crooked. He didn't seem nervous. Just calm, focused. Like he belonged there. The audience hushed as he stepped to the mic. He looked out at the crowd, then straight at the two people sitting in the front row. Lucas met his gaze, eyes glassy. The boy took a breath. Then he spoke. "When I was little," he began, "I didn't think birthdays mattered. I didn't think they were for kids like me." There was a pause. Soft, heavy. "But one day, a man I didn't know bought me a cake. And everything changed." Laughter filled the room gently. The boy continued. "That day, I realized something important. Sometimes, it only takes one person to believe in you. Just one. Someone to say, you matter." That's what he did for me. And I want to be that person for someone else one day. Lucas blinked back tears. He wasn't used to crying in public. But he didn't hide it now. He reached for the mother's hand. She squeezed his, without looking away from the stage. The boy ended his speech with a soft thank you, then walked off the stage into a quiet wave of applause. Lucas stood as he approached. The boy wrapped his arms around him tightly. Lucas closed his eyes. For a second, the noise faded and all he felt was the weight of a moment that had been years in the making. There were no cameras, no press, no business deals waiting in the car. Just a man who used to think success was measured in numbers, standing in a school auditorium with a boy who once wanted nothing more than a candle. A man who used to celebrate birthdays alone now had someone to plan them for. Someone who saw through the suits, through the status, and into something real. And beside him, a woman who once stood in the rain holding her son's hand, now watching that same sun rise, with a future full of light. Lucas had always believed he was building something great. But he never imagined that the greatest thing he'd ever build was a family. And now, we want to hear from you. What's the one moment in your life that changed everything? Drop it in the comments. And if this story moved you even a little, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that reminds us what really matters.